The recent national and international debate about gun control in the United States is a great deception on many levels. It's a deception regarding what the motivation is behind having the debate, and it is a deception regarding what it is fundamentally about. When you talk about people's motivations, that's pretty easy. It's either someone's motivation to just be seen for talking, to see if they can get exposure for whatever they want to talk about. So they're taking someone's side that might support them in a financial way. Or it might be gun sales, protecting gun sales. Or it might be what it's fundamentally about. The right to bear arms, as granted by the United States Constitution's Second Amendment. But the Second Amendment of the Constitution, like any amendment, can be interpreted any given way. I had a law teacher that said the law is what you argue it to be. And the Second Amendment says American citizens have the right to bear arms. While a really persuasive lawyer, not that they won't get laughed at, could stand in court and say, what does right to bear arms mean? And you could just go like this with his sleeves and say, that's bearing my arms. As ridiculous as that is. If the lawyer was persuasive enough, and if the court did decide in their favor, guess what? That would go in the law books. The law books is interpreting constitutional law. There's libraries full of that kind of thing. Libraries of stupid interpretations that do stick. And the same thing with the First Amendment for free speech. You know, you could argue that if somebody is speaking but they get paid for it, that you're paying for what they're saying, that it's not free speech. Well, stupid way to look at it, but if you really pushed it, that means if you got paid for saying something that somebody else disagreed with, they said that's not free speech, that's paid for. Therefore, I want that person thrown in jail. You had enough money behind you, you'd be surprised where that could go. But the gun control issue, say like with Piers Morgan talking about banning assault rifles, the motivation there is, you know, the people backing him, is not to protect kids in theaters. Those horrible incidents that started the debate, on a statistical level, are individual moments that are being balanced against millions of people that are gun owners. Which is, you know, obviously out of proportion. They should be talking about the fact that those kids that were shooting guns were on very strong psychotropic medicines, and that should be the debate, is the medicines that these kids are on when they commit the crimes. And their ability to get a hold of guns that they shouldn't be able to have access to. Not because of a legal reason, but because somebody who owns the gun didn't have it locked up. But instead they want to jump past all of that and ban that type of gun. Which brings in the motivation of someone that wants to ban that kind of gun. And the motivation there is to take the ability away from the American people to truly defend themselves from something major. Just having a couple of handguns, if you're just doing the classic Wiley, or what's his name, Yosemite Sam thing, you'd run out of bullets in a few moments and then you're done. And if you had a mob coming at you, or you were really defending yourself against a lot of intruders, no. The original idea of having the right to bear arms was being able to form a militia if need be, if the government turns evil and turns on the people, so the people can have a equitable war if need be. That is the reason for it. And that is what the powers that be don't want. Your ability to defend yourself or start an assault against them. That is the underlying motivation. On the flip side, the gun people, the NRA, that is deceptive too. That is about using people that want to defend themselves to make money. The people that are pushing for arguing with the gun bans are only concerned about their gigantic gun sales profits being cut in half, if not more than that, because we're talking about the resale gun shops and then the pawn shops, and it's a lot. So it's serious. There's a lot at stake on both sides. That is the deception, when the real discussion should be what it's all about in the first place. And, you know, calling out the various voices involved, pro-gun, anti-gun, you got to think about what they're really meaning with regard to you when you decide how you're going to respond about it. I've made a few videos recently slamming this or that with regard to deception. You know, it's deception could be interpreted, but what I mean is the way you portray yourself when you're discussing something that you are trying to persuade another person to consider for your benefit. So if you say, I'm doing this for a personal reason, or suggesting you're doing it for a personal reason, that's a deception if what it is protecting a large-scale corporation. So that's what I mean. We have so much deception in the world, and I just think our only chance to combat any of these real powers that be is to recognize the power that they have to interpret the law and start from there. Because none of these amendments to the Constitution will hold up in court if the people with money don't want them to. None of them.